welcome. This is our Saturday night yin class. I'm Erin. We will be using our usual block and blanket tonight, and we are going to get started in either supported fish or supported Supta Baddha Konasana. So for that, we're going to grab our block right away and placing it on the low setting, long way. Then you're in the top half of the mat. And then finding a seat a few inches out in front of it. For a supported fish, you can send legs out long, or Supta Baddha Konasana, taking that butterfly shape with the legs. And then starting to walk your spine down along the length of the block. As you come down, you can adjust how far up or down your back it is. Finding a spot somewhere underneath the bottoms of the shoulder blades, block to fall. Creating some lift through the middle part of the back, and the chest. And once you've set yourself up, starting to close the eyes, let the shoulders fall towards your mat. Allowing the head to rest on the ground. Tuning into the breath. Take a moment to notice if you are holding tension anywhere in your body. And using exhales to start to soften and release. Creating a little more space. Noticing where your arms have fallen, whether that's alongside the body, resting on the belly. As you feel your breath move in and out of the belly, starting to consciously smooth out your inhales and exhales. Finding an evenness in the rhythm. Maybe inhaling to a count of 4 and exhaling to a count of 4. to move out of this shape. We'll inhale, arms overhead. And then exhale to start to curl legs in, rolling off to one side or the other. Coming all the way off your block. Pausing for a moment on your side. And then reaching back to move your block out of the way, we'll roll onto the back. Plant the soles of the feet wide. The knees can fall in towards one another. Constructive rest pose. Feeling the spine start to realign in a more neutral position. Noticing how that feels after that heart opener. Finding one more breath in constructive rest pose. And from here, rolling onto your belly. And propping up on forearms and palms. Set ourselves up in Sphinx pose. Here you can either take a more active version, keeping head and chin lifted. You can bring the block under your forehead. Allow the head to rest against it for a more restorative version. Thinking about tucking the tailbone just a little bit and pulling the belly button in if this feels a little bit crunchy on your lower back. Keeping shoulders pulled away from the ears. Last 3 breaths here. And if you place that block under the forehead, we'll start to lift the head away. And with an exhale, I'll lower all the way down to the ground, stacking forearms or wrists in front of you. Just for a few breaths, letting the forehead fall to your arms, crocodile pose. Maybe rocking the hips a little bit side to side, releasing the lower back. And coming back to stillness, we'll bend the right knee, drawing that heel in towards our glutes. And start to reach back with the right hand, grabbing the outer edge of right foot. And then using your arm to just hug that leg in close, finding a stretch through the right quad. And you can think about pressing the right hip into the ground to get a little more intensity out of this. And then here you can either lower the forehead back to that left arm or bring the cheek to the floor. Just finding somewhere that's comfortable for you to rest the upper body. Maybe starting to feel some opening across the front of the right thigh, the right hip flexor. And 3 more breaths here. And using that last exhale to release right foot back to the floor. And bring right arm out to a T here. And then plant the left palm right under left shoulder. Inhale to prepare. And then exhale to start rolling on to that right side. You tapping the left toes back behind you. Getting a shoulder opener. Breathing full. Taking one more breath. Using that exhale to roll off the right shoulder, coming back to the belly. And this time we'll bring right forearm to the top of the mat. Bend the left knee to set up that quad stretch on the left side, reaching back with left hand, starting to hug that heel in towards the hips. Thinking about pressing that left hip into the ground for more intensity. Last 3 breaths. With that last exhale, releasing left foot down to the ground. Left arm comes out to a T. Starting to roll over onto left shoulder. Setting up shoulder opening stretch. Noticing if this feels the same or different. As it did on the first side. One side might be a lot more open than the other. Last inhale. Exhale to slowly roll off the left side back onto the belly. Taking crocodile pose again for a couple of breaths. Rocking out the hips a little bit again. And as you're ready, planting palms underneath shoulders and pressing up to tabletop. All fours. From here, just take some organic movement, cat cows or moving side to side, hitting the spine, moving in all directions. Something we don't often take the time to do. Eventually coming back to stillness. Using an inhale, we'll sweep right arm open, twisting towards the side of the mat. And take a couple big circles with that right arm. One direction, and the other. Inhale, right fingertips high. Exhale to thread right arm. Do left arm, left leg, finding thread the needle. Bringing the right cheek down to the floor. And then choosing if left arm stays where it is or comes overhead, maybe wraps behind your back for a bind. And then starting to notice again what you could soften here. Is there anything that is holding that doesn't need to be holding? One more breath on this side. Regrounding left palm, will inhale to sweep right arm open. And exhale back to tabletop. Next inhale, left fingertips reach high, and then take some big circles with that left arm. And switch the direction. Inhale, left arm high. Exhale to thread through. Bringing that shoulder and ear down to the mat. Setting up your thread the needle side 2. Finding that last breath in this shape. Bringing right palm back underneath right shoulder. We'll inhale, left arm sweeps open. And exhale back to tabletop. From here, bringing big toes together, knees out wide. We'll sink hips back towards heels for child's pose. Grounding down to the forehead. Breathing into hips and lower back. Taking 3 more breaths in child's pose. And eventually using an inhale to rise back up through tabletop. And then exhale to sit tall back onto the heels for hero's pose. We'll be here for a little bit, so some options. You could place a block underneath the hips on whatever setting you want. If that helps take some of the weight off ankles and knees, you could put a blanket underneath your legs for a little extra cushion. Once you've got your hero's pose set up, just find a long spine first, bringing palms onto the tops of the thighs. And using an inhale, sweep arms overhead. Exhale, we'll drop arms out wide behind us, finding this kind of T shape, but really thinking about pulling shoulder blades together and opening across the front of the chest. Palms open, facing the sky. Inhale. Exhale, come forward to a more neutral spine here. We'll start with thumbs facing up. And begin to rotate the arms, starting at the shoulders and then eventually working down to the wrists. The thumbs are face down. And start to rotate back open the other way. Palms open. And rotate them back down. Move through this another 3 times of opening and closing the whole arm here, originating the movement from the shoulder joint. So making sure you're not just moving the forearms, you're really rotating through the whole arm. And after that last round, we'll inhale, arms back overhead. Exhale back to tabletop. And then we'll step right foot forward for a low lunge. Setting yourself up here. Beginning just letting the hips sink towards the ground. Keeping the spine long here. Breathing into that hip joint. And then we'll bring the right hand inside the right foot. Start to walk right foot out towards the outer edge of the mat for runner's lunge. A little bit more depth in this shape. Last 2 breaths in runner's lunge. And we'll start to heel toe right foot back to center, framing it with both hands. We'll inhale, arms overhead. Exhale to drop them out into that wide open T, lifting the collarbone. Inhale back overhead. And then exhale to step back to both knees. And then sink back to hero's pose. From here, I'll inhale, arms overhead, lifting hips. And exhale, left foot steps forward, finding low lunge, grounding hands on either side of left foot. Taking some breaths here to introduce us to this shape with the legs. To let gravity pull the hips towards the ground. And then eventually bringing right hand inside, left hand inside left foot. Heel toe that foot out a little bit wider for runner's lunge. And letting the hips just fall heavy towards your mat. Last breath here. And begin to walk left foot back into the center of your mat. Framing foot with both hands. Inhale, arms overhead. Exhale, dropping them out wide, lifting the heart. Inhale, back up. Exhale to start shifting hips back. Step that foot back to hero's pose. Bring hands to heart center. Taking a couple breaths here. A little reset before we move on. As you're ready, releasing hands down to thighs with an exhale. Here, we'll inhale, right arm up overhead, and then bending that elbow, dropping that right hand down towards the top of the shoulders. And we'll inhale, left arm out wide, and then exhale, turning that thumb down towards the ground. We'll begin to bend that elbow, sweeping it behind the lower part of the back, setting up our cow face arms. Here, you might be able to touch fingertips together or clasp hands if you have a lot of mobility in your shoulders. Otherwise, just thinking about energetically hugging those hands towards each other. So pulling left palm up the spine, pulling right palm down. You're trying to move them towards each other. Breathing deep. Keeping a little tuck in the tailbone here. We have a tendency in this shape to kind of let the rib cage flare out because of this back arm. So think about hugging it back here. Avoid that. Keeping the head lifted as well. Also want to like round the chin forward because of the top arm. So keeping the whole spine neutral here. Once you realign that spine, you might notice it create a little more intensity and the opening for the shoulders. One more full breath on this side. Use an inhale to reach both arms out wide. And then exhale to switch them out, taking this on the opposite side. So left elbow up, right elbow down. And then thinking about reaching fingertips towards one another. And checking in with the spine, noticing whether that lower back is collapsing, whether the chin is trying to round forward, bringing everything back into alignment. Last inhale and exhale. Next inhale to release out to that wide, pulling fingertips away from each other. Exhale to let palms fall down to thighs. We roll up the shoulders a few times. Roll up the neck. And each ear fall towards each shoulder a few times. From here, we'll just cross the ankles, backing back onto the hips, and find our way onto our backs. Using an inhale, we'll hug right knee in towards the chest, pulling it in with hands. Taking a few breaths to just compress that hip joint. And with an exhale, starting to draw right knee over towards the left, coming into a twist. Right arm can come long. Using a block for support under that right knee. Keeping shoulders grounded. Sending breath into the belly. Using your next inhale to come back to center. Exhale, release right leg long. And inhale, left knee in towards the chest. Giving it a squeeze. We have about 3 to 5 breaths to just hug that leg in. And eventually using an exhale to twist over to the right. Maybe grabbing a prop, putting up arms, letting gaze fall wherever it feels natural, whether that's up towards the ceiling or over towards left fingertips. So feeling the belly and rib cage expand in 3 dimensions as you inhale and exhale. Using your next inhale to draw left knee back to center. Exhale, release both legs long. And from here, have a little bit of time to take any last shapes or movements you might want before moving to your final shavasana. Maybe legs up the wall or happy baby. Just giving yourself a little bit of time here to give your body whatever else it needs. And eventually starting to make your way into a final resting shape of your choice. Letting the eyes fall closed. Finding complete release. Letting go. Letting yourself be here in this space, in this moment. Just breathing. At the end of